Hey guys, Diesel Dan here. Just want to make a quick video on a topic I get asked a lot. Like I said before, I try to help whenever I can with comments, questions, anything like that. Unfortunately, on the older stuff, I don't have a whole lot of experience on the Max. Most of my background is in charter buses, mainly MCIs, Detroits, and Freightliners. But that being said, I want to talk about side work. I get a lot of guys ask me. Unfortunately, I don't do it anymore. I don't plan on ever doing it again. I did it a lot in the early parts of my career. Did it for about 12, 13 years in the Philadelphia area. I made pretty good money doing it. It was a lot of work though. It was a lot of headache. Working days off, before and after shifts. My days off, holidays, and to be honest, it kind of got old at the end. I did have a handful of good customers. They were pretty good, especially the bus guys. A lot of them were charter guys. Truck guys were a little more harder to deal with. You guys have a bad reputation out there. You guys disappear for long periods of time, and then when you do come back into town, you're hard to catch up with to get paid. And that got old quick. I didn't deal with a whole lot of tractor trailers if I didn't have to. The buses would always come back to the yard unless it did a multi-day trip. But for the most part, they were always back. And when you have a bus full of people, it's, they need a mechanic. They don't want to screw around. They want you to come out when they call. But it did get a little crazy at the end. I mean, these guys were, savages with the way they would just call day and night. Holidays, I'm at family events, I'm getting calls. I mean, there was no shame to their game, and it got old. My time was my time. I understand they have a business to run, but, me doing side work was kind of my business too. So not getting paid was kind of a little shiesty on, the other end. You guys want to ride on my money and chasing you down to get paid after I went down to get your unit. That got old pretty quick. I did have one customer, if he owed me money, he was looking for me, and he made sure he paid me, because when he called, I went. No questions asked, because I knew money was not going to be a question. But I only had one guy like that. The rest of them weren't like that. So even at the house, I work on cars occasionally here and there, mainly flip cars. I used to help people out, but that got old too. For example, I did brakes on a person's car, and next thing you know, the radiator started leaking. They called me up screaming, I touched it last, I need to fix it, blah, 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 blah. And it's just, I'm cutting you a deal on prices, trying to save you money from what the shops and dealers are charging, and this was what I got in return. Yeah, so with that got old. I don't work on people's cars. Very rarely do I ever do that. I work on my cars at my own pace. If I work all day long and don't feel like working on stuff when I get home, I don't. I don't need people calling me. And then when the vehicle's done and the bill comes, everybody seems to disappear, and I gotta hear all the sob stories. And no, I'm sorry guys. I try to work with people, pay as they go, pay me half now, hit me up in a week or so, it's no big deal. But then people disappear, and I do this to make money. I'm not doing this out of the kindness of my heart. Okay? I try to charge a fair price for a fair amount of work. I'm not trying to rob anybody, but I'm not doing this for free. And this is how a lot of these mechanics feel today, especially us older guys. I work with some younger guys that try to do side work. First time something goes sideways, they're out, they don't answer their phone, they don't want to deal with it, and that's part of the business. I've had jobs go sideways on me. I had a couple wheel seals come back and leak on me for whatever reason, and you have to warranty your work. Yes, I'd have to go down there and redo the job, which sucks, but hey, it is what it is. If it's a parts failure or something you did, you have to owe up to what you did and make it right. And that's why I was always the first one being called out, because I did back my work up. And yes, a couple times some jobs burned me. I'm not going to lie to you, it happens. Anybody who's been doing this long enough knows it will happen. And you have to be prepared for it, and you have to do what you have to do to make it right. And I'd have customers screaming at me. You'd have to calm them down and be like, hey, let me come down, see what I can do, get you back on the road, and take it from there. And it always seemed to work out. But there are a lot of fly-by-night mechanics that will do one job, take your money and run, and they'll never answer your phone again or show up again. And in the long run, you're not making a whole lot of money doing that. Yeah, you made a quick buck today, but I look at the overall big picture. You know, if I'm making between 5 and 10 grand a customer, I had 5 customers, add that up for the end of the year. That's a nice piece of change. And that's how I saw it. And sure, I had guys owe me money for good long periods of time, but you know what? They're going to break down again, and they're going to call again, and all I do is just mark up the bill. I used to call it an annoyance fee. For annoying me, I would charge it up. And they'd have no choice to pay it, because what are they going to do? Pay a tow truck? Paying a tow truck is not getting anything repaired. Especially these bigger commercial vehicles. At the time in Philadelphia, I believe it was $1,300 and up to tow a bus. So I could pretty much charge up to $1,300, and I was going to get it, because they knew what their options were. Tow it back to the yard and still have to pay me to fix it, or just pay me now and just fix it and keep moving. So that's a little background on the side work, guys. Unfortunately, you know, a lot of guys don't want to do it anymore. I see the trucks broken down the side of the road. It's a different time today. You can't do what I used to do in driveways and parking lots anymore. I used to do a lot of my work just with a handheld. Now you need a laptop for just about anything. I'm not making that investment. So unfortunately, you guys are in a tough spot. And if you guys do find a good wrench, I would suggest sticking with them. But unfortunately, you know, I started out in the charter bus industry. It's a whole another animal than the trucking. The trucking seems to be, you can't see it from my house, F it. Just want to put band-aids on stuff, get it out the door. Once it's 100 miles away, it's someone else's problem. I'm seeing a lot of that in the trucking world. I don't understand it. You should be proud of your work. I mean, I still enjoy what I do for a living. I don't always enjoy the job that I'm at, but I do still overall enjoy what I do, working with my hands, fixing stuff. But I do take pride in my work. I want to do it right. And I get it. When you're on the side of the road, you do what you got to do. You find a piece of metal on the side of the road and you got to use it to hold something up or whatever you got to do to get it back to the shop, that's one thing. But once you're back at the shop, you should fix it right. I was taught that a long time ago by an old timer. He said, you do whatever you got to do to get it back here. But once you get it back here, you need to fix it right. If not, it'll come back to burn you. And I see it. I see it in PMs. You know, all these companies want to preach PMs. PMs are only good as the guy doing it. If you're just going to pencil whip it, just not see things, and say you did this and didn't do that, it usually comes back to burn you. So, and once guys get in that habit, it's downhill from there. They're really not going to change. So, there are a lot of good guys out there, and it's getting few and far between. At this point, there's a lot of guys that are just bodies. I've gotten a couple trucks from dealerships that came back that the work was horrendous. I actually had to make a video of it and send it to their general manager, and they had to take the truck back and do it right. That was a whole to-do. You know, it happens, and like I said, I'm not perfect. I'm not going to sit here and nitpick everything under the sun, but when trucks come back from being repaired somewhere, I do bring them in, check the fluids, check my clamps, and I'm not nitpicking if I find one hose or two hose clamps loose or something like that. I get it. I worked at a dealership. I know stuff happens. change of shifts. Another guy has to finish it up. You know, he might not take something off that you normally take off. I get all that. So I didn't nitpick a bunch of stuff. But when it came 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 12, 15, 20 different things I found wrong with this truck, yeah, I can't have that. Not at a dealership level. We spent over 20 grand on that repair. And yeah, that was wrong. But they did make it right. I still use them today. So yeah, I mean, I can go on about this subject all day long, but it's tough. I know what these owner-operators are going through. You want to find someone, you want to have decent equipment, but, you know, it's tough because fewer and fewer people want to get into this. It's dirty work. It's very dirty work. Everything's heavy, and, you know, a lot of people don't want to do it. I'm coming to the end of my days. I'm at the end of my career. I'd like to be in management at some point, and I don't want to be turning wrenches anymore. So, but who's going to take up the slack? There's no one there. So that's all for that subject. So I hope you guys understand where some of us older guys are coming from. And like I said, no disrespect to people. I get asked a lot to do side work, and I politely say no. And a lot of people are getting very shitty with me about it. And hey, it's not my fault. I put in my time. I moved on. You know, it's not my problem your car or truck's broke or whatever the case may be, but it's not my responsibility anymore. I've been on the side of the road late nights, wintertime, in freezing water trying to get brakes unfrozen, all that. I did all that. I'm not doing it anymore. Even when I'm at the house, I get asked to do side work all the time, and I'm just not interested. It's not worth the money. It's not worth the hassle. And then these people get upset with me and want to scream and argue like that's going to help the situation. No. But anyway, that's where we are on that one, guys. All right, thanks.